Hey all, Glenn Kirschner here. Please enjoy this video on the Political Voices Network. Great to be with y'all.
It's too much sexy all in one place.
You and Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes, it's a lot for me to have. It's a lot for me to take in. A lot of cuteness over there. Glenn, what a day! I seriously, I said God created this panel for tomorrow night for sexy liberal you and Rob Reiner and Malcolm Nance and Ron Perlman. I mean, what a lineup of alpha liberals, but also just everything you've been telling us. It just feels like it is finally coming between Letitia James and Sidney Powell flipping yesterday on the justice front. The president, even on Fox News, gave a magnificent speech. It feels like the powers of good, Glenn.
Yeah, the ball is rolling. The ball is rolling in the direction of accountability, maybe even justice. I remember a year ago. We were talking about, we can't wait to celebrate the indictments. I didn't think we were going to have 4 indictments to celebrate. And now, Steph, when we're back here next year, we will be celebrating the convictions. Yeah. And I believe the imprisonment of Donald Trump, because that's what he has so richly earned. And you just had that. You know what?
You're starting early, and I'm already overexcited.
You had that lead in with Letitia James, and it's so we have a little segment that on Justice Matters we're calling it Hallway Lies, because Donald Trump sits in the courtroom, throwing mean glares at the witnesses and grumbling and mumbling and acting like a juvenile, like a fool. And then he steps out into the hallway, and the lies just pour out of him. The lies about what the gag orders say he can and can't do. The lies about him not really having to be in the courtroom, but choosing to be there to avoid other responsibilities. It's lie after lie after lie.
First of all, he doesn't have to be there at all, right? And he's like, they're keeping me off the campaign trail. And they're like, will you be here tomorrow? No, I got a golf tournament. I mean, it's so
He didn't
ridiculous.
Come a single day during the E. Jean Carroll case when E. Jean Carroll mopped the floor with Donald Trump. Didn't show up one day.
Yeah. Glenn, but isn't that a lot of people making the point? This is why I think these trials have to be televised, because that's not fair. We don't get to see what happens, and then he gets to go out and lie on camera. And that's what, right?
And why it's so important is because if the trials weren't televised, right now federally, we don't know if they will be or they won't be. We do know that the Georgia State RICO prosecution will be televised and live streamed. If they're not televised, what happens? Donald Trump's lawyers, his mouthpieces, his lackeys and lapdogs and sycophants, step to the camera at the end of the day, lie about what's going on in the courtroom. They say things like, the government's case is falling apart. They're proving that it's a witch hunt. And the prosecutors are permitted to say exactly nothing to the camera and at the end of the day. Not a fair fight in the court of public opinion.
This is what all these cases are about. The Sidney Powells of the world going out and Giuliani on TV and on press conferences and lying and lying and lying. And then, as we keep saying, we've been waiting for it to meet the cold hard light of a courtroom. And here we go. That's a big timber, by the way. Sidney Powell falling. That is
Sidney Powell. D.A. Willis has released the Kraken on her co-conspirators. It's a beautiful thing. We could spend the whole program talking just about the implications of this.
Yeah. Well, and the reporting this morning, Glenn, is that the Trump team didn't see this coming. And I don't know why.
And here's the thing. I have to believe, Steph, I don't want to jump right to the end game here. I have to believe that with her pleading guilty to crimes that are basically part and parcel of the entire corrupt scheme to overturn the election's results, not just in Georgia, but nationwide in all the battleground states, at the Capitol on January 6th. I have to believe she's already cooperating with the federal prosecutors, with Jack Smith. Because if not, well, she now has absolutely no defense to offer when, not if, but when she's indicted federally. She's one of the identified but unnamed co-conspirators in the D.C. Donald Trump indictment. So that means one of two things. She will either be indicted or she will agree to cooperate, plead guilty and cooperate.
All the bedwetters were like, this is too sprawling, RICO, and maybe it's going to hurt Jack Smith's case. And so far, it's only, she appears to know what she's doing.
Right. What a vindication of Fani Willis's tactical decisions.
Yeah. By the way, a pre-show joke, I brought Glenn coffee, and I said, how do you like it? And I said, black, like your prosecutors? And you said, yes, strong and black, like my prosecutor. Okay. That was that was in honor of
that was good.
Fani Willis and Letitia James.
Yeah, that was good.
And Alvin Bragg.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Glenn. Yes. What did Malcolm Nance say yesterday? He was on the road. He's joining us tomorrow night, but he was in Vegas, and he said his coffee was black and bitter like him.
Yes.
Because of everything that's going on in the world. And I don't know, we're all getting called warmongers or terrorist sympathizers or something. But anyway, let's talk about, I mean, I don't even know where, you're right, I don't know where to start. We could do like an hour just on one thing. But so, first of all, what happens before Monday? Is the cheese going to fall off the Kraken trial? Is Ken Cheeseborough, what's he going to do before Monday?
If he's smart, he will cut his losses. He will take responsibility for his crimes. Now, what I'm hoping is that when we see more defendants down in Georgia pleading guilty, that the plea offers get a little stiffer and a little stiffer, because the one concern I had when I read that Sidney Powell had decided to plead guilty is they broke everything down to misdemeanors, and they're giving her probation. She's not going to spend 1 minute in prison, and she should, for the democracy-busting
Michael Cohen
crimes.
called blank on this.
Yeah, but here's the other thing.
He had to go to prison, but she better be giving it up for getting probation.
But the system isn't done with her yet, because I don't believe the feds, Jack Smith, when they strike a cooperation deal with Sidney Powell, I don't believe it will be a probation-eligible deal.
Yeah.
I think the feds understand, and this is not a criticism of Fani Willis. She's building a sprawling case, and she's starting by getting some cooperators in, like Sidney Powell and that bail bondsman who helped Sidney Powell compromise the Coffee County voting machines. She's building, so she had to give some really generous plea offers to start the ball rolling. I don't think the feds are going to look at it that way. The feds are going to say, Sidney Powell was intimately involved in Trump's conspiracy to overturn the results of the election. She must spend time in prison. She can plead guilty, she can cooperate, but she must spend time in prison.
Yeah, well, because, as they say, she was in the room where it happened. You know, for you Hamilton fans out there. Yeah, you tweeted, oh, sorry, your microphone is not working, Jody. It's not by design. Yeah, you said Sidney Powell pleads guilty. This represents not just a minor crack in the dam. This is a full breach. The entire dam is crumbling and washing down into a river of accountability.
It's a kraken in the dam.
Yeah, may it all... Right, thank you, Chris. I was going to do a finger in the dike joke, but thanks. Okay, may it all empty into the ocean of justice our nation needs and deserves. It does have that domino feeling, doesn't it?
Oh, it's
starting.
Coming. It's coming. It's all crumbling, and all of these people will be held accountable, both in Georgia and up in the federal prosecution in D.C. And then, you know what? I am less and less concerned with what's going on down in Florida with, Judge Luce Cannon. It looks like she is determined to kill that case by a death of 1,000 continuances. But that's okay, because as long as Trump is held accountable for trying to bring an end to our democracy and goes to prison for that, 5 years from now, the documents case may still be ongoing because Judge Cannon has not pushed it to trial.
I mean, with particularly what's going on right now, Glenn, in the Middle East, that, many people believe started with Trump giving Israeli intelligence to Russians in the Oval Office, which clearly went to Iran and Hamas. And, I loved, by the way, that was brilliant how the president tied together Hamas and Putin, because Putin's fingerprints are all over this as well. A lot of the Hamas terrorists trained with, we have Wagner Group, we have, cryptocurrency involved.
And there was a little Easter egg in one of the Jack Smith filings in the Florida documents case. He said something about, look, there's no dispute, basically, that Donald Trump had the documents, but there is a real concern with what he did with the documents. That came out recently. That feels ominous. It feels like we're going to hear more about how he compromised our national security, and I think it's going to be more than he just kept classified stuff in the can.
Amy Siskin said, more analysis later, but I must admit I love President Biden comparing Hamas with Vladimir Putin. You know how much that's going to piss him off. Yes, there's that. And Rick Wilson said, powerful remarks from the best foreign policy president in a generation. People on Fox accidentally said that.
Chris Hume
do we have that?
Was rapturous.
Yes. Let's get Glenn's take on the other side. Rapturous, he says. Yes. 24?
Well, I think it may be remembered as one of the best, if not the best, speeches of his presidency. He was firm, he was unequivocal, he was strong, as he has been, particularly in recent days before he went to Israel and while he was over there.
Wow. I mean, it's just, there is so much going on. It's hard to even wrap your head around it, but how critical it is. Glenn, particularly with him inciting violence every day. This poor 6-year-old Palestinian boy that was stabbed to death in Illinois. I mean, the family says right-wing rhetoric. It mimics everything that's on right-wing radio, that Trump and Laura Loomer and all of these, so you talk about, like, Trump's rhetoric has incited actual violence over and over again, starting with El Paso, etc. It's not hyperbole when you say it, Glenn.
And Trump is nothing if not consistent. He is always inciting violence, and he is always siding with the bad guys.
Yeah.
With the dictators, with the terrorists, with the autocrats. I mean, consistent from Putin to Kim Jong-un to now Hamas. I mean, this is what Donald Trump does.
Yeah.
When are we going to wake up? And I'm not talking about the MAGA base, because, they're going to continue, to sleepwalk through this unless and until we can actually get some deprogramming efforts and programs underway.
Yeah.
And I do think people need to be deprogrammed for their own good. I'm not talking about politics and ideology.
Yeah.
I'm talking about extracting people from this cult for their own good.
Yeah.
Even if there's nothing in it for us. I mean, I think we have a responsibility to help people break this, Trump fever. But he's always siding with the bad guys, and he's always endangering really everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we can't say it enough. I mean, we'll talk about all this next, gag orders and what to do about Trump, because there's no ordinary person that would remain out of prison in this scenario. All right, if you want more of that sexy liberal, and who doesn't? I don't know if you've noticed, even animals strike curious poses. They feel the heat between me and Glenn Kirschner. You can have it for only $20 pay-per-view. SexyLiberal.com.
What do I have to do for that 20? Yeah. I just want
watch
some
him naked.
ground rules would be good here.
Watch him naked.
Bobert yourself.
Yes, Bobert yourself. Do whatever. There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine. I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.